Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Spurs Up. As always, alongside Deric Rush, I'm Jack Taylor. And finally, March is upon us. We've gotten into the swing of things as March Madness has gone on.
March
It's one
Madness
of my favorite,
is back, baby.
One of my favorite months of the year, aside from, opening day of baseball. But
Absolutely.
What we're going to talk about today is the different basketball games we've got going on. The women's tournament and the men's tournament are both going on in unison. To start off, the women will take on Baylor University tomorrow night. That is a number 1 seed going up against a number 4 seed.
Now, if we recall from earlier in the season, it didn't go too well the last time we played Baylor. It actually was a good old-fashioned, woodshed shellacking. But I mean, hopefully Don Staley creates a good strategy and we give them a good run for their money. I hope that is not the repeat of the earlier this year, though.
Yeah, luckily that game was in about early December. So at that point in time, the Gamecocks were still trying to find their footing.
Absolutely.
It was a 96-69 loss for the Gamecocks. So hopefully they've been able to build off this momentum, 2 wins in the tournament. They haven't gotten to play at home like they should have, as we talked about before,
right,
because of the men's tournament going on in Columbia. The Gamecocks could not host their first couple games in Columbia like they were supposed to.
Right.
Played in Charlotte, not too far away, not too unfamiliar. Now they're going to Greensboro for the Sweet 16, which the team is very familiar with.
And how about Columbia being able to host the men's tournament this year? I think that was a great addition for the city. Really something that I feel like the area wanted and needed. Economically, different things like that. I got to see a lot of talent. I heard a lot of students talking about, just over the course of the week how big some of the players were, and even talking about some of the practices that they were able to sit in on. Were you able to sit in on any?
Oh, definitely. I mean, going to the Duke Open practice, even Virginia Open practice. I mean, you see Zion Williamson in person, the number 1 player in the country.
Right.
I mean, that's a sight or an experience unlike any other. And you could tell with the city almost got kind of rejuvenated as far as the energy went. It was almost like, the March Madness a couple years ago when we were going in it. It wasn't in Columbia, but we had a say, we had a presence there. And now having that presence in the city, it just brought so many different things as far, like as you said, economically, just kind of even stylistically, you saw on the streets the different signs that were being put up, showcasing the different areas of Columbia. And all the feedback that you heard from various coaches and teams that came and played here, how unlike any other arena Colonial Life was, how professional it was, how well put together it was. I think it's just something really cool for the city to put kind of South Carolina basketball, on the map.
I think it says a lot about the university. The only thing I will nitpick about is parking was terrible. Parking has been a thorn in my side, but it was all worth it. We got to see some great basketball in the area.
And you couldn't even get a hotel around here for less than $100 for a night. I mean, you had people coming in from all around. I live at the Hub with the Marriott attached right to it. We had, I want to say it was North Dakota State, UCF, all those teams staying right next to us. 8 or 9 buses all piled up.
And then you had some fan traffic.
Oh, so many fans. I mean, everybody was there, was wearing something from one of those teams, and it was really cool to get to see, fans of other fan bases see what it's like in Colonial Life Arena. And even when it's not, your team playing, you still have that energy. You still have that fan base. They said that from the minute I saw a couple of things, on Twitter, from interviews from, different various news organizations such as the State or the Daily Gamecock, talking about, how fans from out of town, felt being in the stadium. I think it's just a really cool experience, and hopefully keeps this bid up for South Carolina. I think
I agree. I think that this is going to be the stepping stone for a lot of good things to come, whether it be in collegiate athletics or potentially even professional sports in general for the city of Columbia. Kind of moving forward, though, we got the Sweet 16 here. What do you think? What do you think about those picks? I would say it's been a pretty predictable March Madness this season. Haven't had too many Cinderellas go past, that round of 64. So, I mean, what are you thinking?
No, yeah, I mean, definitely when you looked at this bracket from the beginning, it was a lot of small names. You have Bradley, you have, I'm trying to think of a couple.
I think Gardner Webb made it.
Yeah, you had Gardner Webb. You had Wofford, which isn't a small name as far as, college basketball goes. They've been in the tournament a couple times, but especially this year. You had a lot of smaller colleges, but as you said, a lot of them did not make it past the first 2 rounds. The lowest seed we have in the Sweet 16 right now is 12 seed, that's Oregon. And they're not a small school by any means. I mean, just a couple years ago, they were in the Final Four with South Carolina. So it's definitely been a lot. I mean, you have a bunch of 3 seeds, 2 seeds, 1 seed. Every 1 seed's still in it. I believe almost every 2 seed is still in it. So I definitely think that it's kind of gone. I mean, obviously, there's still not going to be any perfect brackets just because you have games like Auburn where you miss a last-second wide-open three-pointer, or you
hate to see it.
You have New Mexico State doing almost the same thing, and then you have games like, I mean, that's another thing about having these games in Columbia. We had some good games.
We did.
The UCF Duke game was one of the most exciting games.
That was one I hated. I didn't get a ticket to,
100%.
especially being in the city. 100%. It was really frustrating, but it was fun to watch. It was a great competition. You know what I'm saying? I just really hate that I wasn't able to be there.
So I think going forward, you look at some of these matchups. You have obviously, some bigger matchups, some smaller matchups. I think that you're going to see these heavyweight teams follow through. I think you're going to see people like Duke, Michigan, UNC, maybe even Virginia. I think one of the number one seeds is going to choke. It's going to happen.
I think if it's going to be anyone, I think Michigan is going to take it. They're going to take it from. I'm not sure who they're playing in their round, but I think Michigan is a good team. Even Michigan State potentially. Tom Izzo's a mastermind in the postseason, so either one of them could really upset. And I'm not sure that it's gonna continue past the Sweet 16. I think that maybe what we're looking at is maybe like some 1-4s or what have you. I think Duke and North Carolina are going to be back in the Final Four. Potentially could be a rematch that I'm hoping to see. For me personally, being a North Carolina fan, I need to see that revenge, and I need that 2-1 sweep for the season.
And the best case scenario, I'm not entirely sure at the moment how the brackets are lining up, but seeing that championship matchup of old, in the past 10 years or so, we love seeing that Duke UNC, Duke UNC, Duke UNC. Hopefully, we might see one of those again. I do like, as you said, I like Michigan State. And to sidebar a little bit, I think that Tom Izzo is a fantastic coach.
Absolutely.
And it kind of annoyed me, I don't want to be opinionated, but to see the backlash that he got coaching the way he was during the tournament. This is the biggest series of games in college basketball, one of the biggest events in all of sports. If you're not passionate and if you're not fired up for it, then you don't deserve to be playing or coaching. The fact that he got a little bit in people's face, if you have not been equipped to deal with that at the college level yet, with someone getting in your face or someone telling you like it is, then you don't deserve to be playing college basketball.
Let's even think back for a second to Bobby Knight back in his days.
Exactly.
He was one of the most animated coaches, throwing chairs onto the court, yelling in players' faces, yelling at equipment managers, trainers, water boys.
The reason this Gamecocks...
But the track record, it speaks for itself.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, the players rally behind him, and his players support him. They love him as a coach apparently because they defended him in those post game interviews. So with that being said, you have to let the man does what he does. Excuse me. If it isn't broke, you shouldn't fix it.
100%. I mean, you wouldn't have seen South Carolina go as far as they did 2 years ago without the intensity and aggressiveness of Frank Martin. Half the stuff you hear when you film, you can't have on camera because he is making sure that he articulates to his players what they need to be doing and what they're doing wrong.
And that's speaking from personal experience on both of them.
It's interesting to see, and I think that's why you have these teams that are always kind of staples in it. You have these two states, two great schools. You have North Carolina and Duke. You have Michigan and Michigan State. Great coaches on both sides, Coach K, and you have
Tom Izzo.
Thank you. You have Tom Izzo and Coach Beeline on the Michigan side.
Oh yeah, okay, you're talking about Michigan.
And then you have Coach K, and you have
Roy.
Thank you. I don't know why. Good Lord, that was a brain fart. I'm so sorry. You have these intense coaches, these great coaches, and you have what they've built as very big basketball programs for their school and for their state. And I think that's why in the past, I don't think I can remember a tournament without one of those coaches in there. I definitely haven't seen one, or let alone where they're not all four getting at least into the Sweet 16. So I'm thinking it's going to be a UNC-Michigan final.
I'm saying UNC Duke. He's saying UNC Michigan. Only time will tell. We're going to enjoy the rest of the season, though. I'll tell you that.
100%. And until then, South Carolina, Spurs up.